What's up, Wando? I'm Byrd.
And I'm Camryn Pace.
And we're so glad you're here for this month's episode of Tribe Talk.
This episode will feature Fright Night, Mr. Belcher, heroic teachers, and what the town of Mount Pleasant's doing about overdevelopment.
Fright Night is an annual event held during the entire month of October, bringing in several thousand people in the spirit of Halloween. The staff includes several senior actors and Wando actors.
So I'm the event director, so this is my show, and I'm really lucky because I've got a great team that works with me all throughout the season and all throughout the year as we start the build process. In June all the way till the end of the season, we handle everything from hiring our actors, we do the creative design for everything, we do the night-to-night operations, we handle all the ticketing, and we make sure everybody has a good time. My favorite part of the job is when we get the show open and everything's running smoothly. We've got all our actors in position, we've got 3,000 or 4,000 people out here, and the radio's quiet, and I can just stand right up here at the front of the haunted house and just watch the crowd and see all the folks that are out here having such a great time, screaming, laughing, enjoying the music, eating a funnel cake. It's very rewarding for me to see all of that work come together.
Yeah, man, I'm Tiny. I come from the woods behind Horror High, which is something that got torn down at the end of 2015. I lived out there for a while and I came back here, started a playground with all these little misfits, clowns, and dolls. Now I just kind of terrorize people who come onto my property. My hands down favorite is the moms. The ones who have nothing to do with any of this. They're just sitting there minding their own business, watching Netflix on their phone. Boom, get them, Grey's Anatomy, every time. I have mainly stuck with Tiny. It's my clown persona that I have done since 2014. I chose it myself. The first year I applied, they were like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be a clown, that looks fun. And I've just slowly transformed into the Tiny that's on the tickets and billboard and all the marketing. Makeup, depending on how fast we got to rep it out, I think our wonderful makeup artist, Christina, takes about 15 minutes, 20 if we're really taking our time. But every now and then we got to rush it out, rep it out in about 10 minutes, and I'm out here. I will say my favorite part is just seeing everything work and seeing people come out and just laugh because they all got ridiculously scared. It's just super fun to watch. And then just watching people, one of my favorite things is to like barely flinch at somebody and just watch them book it down the midway. But I think that's pretty fun.
Well, I first originally started working at Fright Night because my friends were doing it, and I'm also a theater major. So that's kind of what first got me interested. And then as I started getting into it, I started to have a love for horror, which I used to not. It's made me love that quality time with my friends and my cast members and the love of scaring people and seeing people's reactions. I like to scare older women the most and older men because they seem to give the best reactions. They tend to run into the stuff around us more and they tend to fall down a lot easier. Which then you have to break character sometimes and help them up, but other than that, they just get up on their own and then they start booking it down the exit.
Mr. Belcher has always been a very dedicated person, growing up in a military family and going on to join the Marine Corps himself. He's accomplished many great things in his lifetime and somehow ended up right here at Wando.
I always knew that there were two things that were definite in my life, right? The first was that I'm a little weird. I've been a little weird for a long time. The second is that I've always had a life that's been dedicated to service. And I knew this was going to happen. At birth, I was born as a military brat. My parents will tell you I wasn't born, but I was actually, I was hatched. Why? I don't know. Because they're weird too. I got a little less weird as I was growing up, and I ended up like graduating high school. I even met a girl, right? So I could have been that weird, or maybe she was that weird. But even when I was in high school, my life was really, really dedicated to service. I spent a lot of time volunteering, like with these old guys from the VFW and the American Legion, like grilling chicken on Sunday and those kind of things. And my other friends are like, "What are you doing, man?" And I'm like, "Sorry, gotta help these old dudes today." So because I was poor and I wanted to give back, I joined the Marine Corps. Sounded like the right thing to do. But again, I was weird. So they were like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" I'm like, "Be a weatherman." They're like, no weatherman positions. You're gonna fly attack helicopters. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. So I spent a lot of my time in the Marine Corps training in attack helicopters, doing all that cool, fun stuff, shooting guns, blowing stuff up, explosions. And then this crazy event happened called 9/11. I was ready, right, to serve my country and do all those cool things. But I didn't know that 9/11 was going to happen. And at the time, that girl that I had dated in high school, that was my girlfriend. I don't know if she wanted to be, but she was. She was working on the 21st floor of the Empire State Building. So it was incredibly emotional. It was super tied. So yeah, 9/11 sort of changed the direction of my service. Of course, I immediately went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and served my country, did that. But there was more. There was more that I wanted. There was more that I needed. And maybe it's because I think that you have to have service to others. As soon as I was preparing to leave the Marine Corps after all my deployments, I got an opportunity to go work on Capitol Hill. And it made sense, right? I served in a military capacity. What's the best way to serve others? Capitol Hill, right? Help write legislation, help shape those laws that are going to make other people's lives better. So I did. There I was, hanging out on Capitol Hill, like, "Hey, Congressman. Hey, Senator. Hey, President dude, what's going on?" And of course, it was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. Everybody on Capitol Hill is so worried, at least from my perspective, about partisan politics, that I realized that it didn't matter what kind of legislation you were writing, what kind of help that you wanted to provide people, what kind of service you were going to provide. For them, it was more important to just be opposed to the opposite party. So I said, how else can I serve people in a better capacity? And I went home that night. I turned, I looked at my wife. I said goodbye to my 6-figure salary, and I said, "I want to be a teacher." And she said, "You're crazy." And I said, "I'm not crazy, I'm just weird," right? But what better way to give back, right? If you can help young people, right, shape their decision-making process, begin to realize the importance of their own country, what they do, and their history, and how it applies to them, then I can really make a change. And that's a real service. So I did. I went to the University of Southern California. I got another master's degree, and poof, here I am, your teacher.
It's the beginning of a new school year, and what better way to start it off than by visiting the Wando Warrior shop. They have a wide selection of goods, from your favorite snacks and drinks to official Wando merchandise, and affordable prices made with the typical Wando student in mind. So don't wait, visit the Wando Warrior shop today.
With Wando not only having a large student body, but also a large teaching staff, several teachers have heartfelt stories of their encounters during their teaching career. Coach Reinhart sits down to talk about how he saved a student's life with his knowledge of CPR.
It was March 31st, 2015. It was a day where we had every sport going on our campus at that day. And I was at a small rural school in North Carolina. When I say every sport was going, we had track practice going, but I had a baseball game going, and I had a softball game getting ready to start. And I knew later that night there was going to be soccer. I had a training room full of athletes that I was trying to get ready for their games or whatnot, and all of a sudden I had a student come running in the athletic training room saying, "Coach, somebody's down on the track." So when I hear that, I grab everything I can, head down in our gator, And I got down to the track, and sure enough, as I approached, they told me the kid was. One of our coaches is doing CPR, full chest compressions, and the other coach is holding the ambu bag, and they're squeezing air into this kid's mouth. And, it's one of those things you roll up, you're like, oh my gosh, okay, so we've got that going, and we got to do something. So I grabbed the AED out of the back and put the pads where they belong, turn the AED on, and it starts to analyze the rhythm of this kid's heart, and there was no rhythm. He did not have a heartbeat at all, or at least anything that the AED was picking up. So it said shock advised, and I hit the shock button, and it went through the kid's body, and nothing. So I said, okay, and it said continue CPR. So I jumped in and I started my CPR part, because the other two were pretty tired. And even though adrenaline's going, CPR will tire somebody out. It's a very physical act. And so the AED told me, analyzing rhythm, please let the victim alone, or just basically saying don't touch the victim. And of course it says shock advised. So I shocked him again, still nothing. So I go back to doing CPR. The other coach that's there is running the ambu bag on the kid's mouth, and it's a very surreal thing, because when you're doing CPR, something that a lot of people don't know is you're going to break somebody's ribs. It's not that you're trying to, it's just that the way the ribs are shaped, they're flat bone, and every time you press down, those bones they fold, and so we knew that was happening because I could feel it. But okay, so we knew that we had that going, and the kid was still non-responsive, still nothing. And about that time, the EMTs had been called already because of our EAP. We had put it into place, which is an emergency action plan. They showed up with their AED, which they started running with basically a heart strip on it, and this kid had no rhythm whatsoever, and they shocked him a couple times. We kept doing CPR, and eventually they put him in the ambulance. They had the crash cart and everything on his chest. And finally, when he was leaving, we heard that there was a sound of there was a little bit of a heartbeat. So that was kind of like, okay, maybe we got a chance here. And of course, they put him in the ambulance. By then, his dad had gotten there. He went with him to the hospital, and we go on about our day. I can't stop all athletic events because of that. But I hear a couple hours later that his heart rate had restored, and he was he was not comfortable, but he had a heartbeat again. So we had the best possible outcome with that. Young man survived. It's very, very, very interesting day, I can tell you, because it's one of those times where you're still running basically on adrenaline. I know people don't know what that feels like sometimes, but you're running on adrenaline, and then the end of the day comes and we're packing up and I'm putting everything back in the athletic training room. My AED battery is dead. And I make a mental note, I got to get this replaced ASAP. Fortunately, I had a backup, but then it hit me, like, wow, what do we do? And then I get home, and I'm just sitting there in my living room, and it just recounting the day, and that was a tough day, That was a tough day, but I'm very blessed to have been in a position to help somebody. And I don't think of myself as a hero. I think of myself as doing something somebody else would have done. Reasonable, prudent people just jump in and do what they're trained to do, and that's exactly what all of us did, and that makes a good day. There's no guarantees, but one thing is, we guaranteed we tried, and we did the best we could. I highly, highly encourage people to seek out that training, because it's training that you hope you never use, but you'll be really, really glad you have it if you ever need it. We do it when our Sports Med 2 kids, we train them and get them certified, so that's a good thing. But if you think about it, here we've got almost, close to 4,000 kids at Wando. Wouldn't it be great if everybody had some sort of training? That way, that's 4,000 more chances for somebody to be able to save somebody's life if they ever could, if they had the right equipment. We train on, mannequins, and mannequins, you don't feel the ribs breaking, and you don't hear the air, coming out of their lungs. It may break their ribs. It may be that. And they're going to wake up real sore, but they're going to wake up, and that's that. It's a lot better than the alternative. I just feel like that's what I wish somebody would do if I'm in a bad situation. Somebody would stop and help. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little different that way, but.
Wando's Student Council wants to invite you to the 2019 Talent Show in the PAC on November 13th at 7 p.m. Tickets are $5 for students and $10 for adults. They will be sold under the rotunda and in the CIS beginning November 14th. Come out and support your friends and family. It's going to be a great night full of lots of incredible acts. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by F209.
The Mount Pleasant Police Department created the slogan, "Lock it or lose it," several years ago and is nearly posted on all campuses and nearly all parking lots of schools.
This campaign is aimed towards all car owners in order to make our community a safer one for us to live in.
This is Todd. Todd's just here to get some groceries, but Todd's about to face a critical decision. Lock it or lose it. This is Rob. Now, Rob is not a world-class thief, but the door is unlocked. So, Rob just got a brand new MacBook. Lock it or lose it. A message from the Mount Pleasant Police Department.
The South Carolina Aquarium has an extraordinary sea turtle care center that provides health benefits to the sea turtles held endangered or threatened. This growing issue ensures that our sea turtles have a future in our oceans. The Care Center aids sick and injured sea turtles in partnership with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. We decided to take a closer look into this recovery by sitting down with sea turtle biologist Kate Crosby.
The Sea Turtle Hospital has been a part of the aquarium's history since we opened in 2000. We didn't know we'd have a need for a sea turtle hospital, so we kind of took over the basement, and then the program just grew from there. A little over 2.5 years ago, we opened up Zucker Family Sea Turtle Recovery on the first floor, which is really cool. We've had 289 sea turtles successfully return back into the ocean. Unfortunately, sea turtles live in the ocean, and we live in this beautiful area that people love to visit, people love to live, and we know that people don't obviously plan to hit sea turtles, it just happens. So we always stress the importance of wake zones. If there is a wake zone in place, it's usually because there's sea turtles or other marine life that are in that area, and as they surface debris there, they get hit by a boat, and it's never intentional. It's just the wrong place at the wrong time kind of situation. Sea turtles are suffering from marine debris or plastic ingestion, so it might not be plastic, but it might be trash or garbage in the water. Things that you can do in your everyday life that are going to positively impact sea turtles and really all wildlife are using reusable shopping bags when you're at the grocery store, using reusable straws, water bottles, coffee cups, just really reducing your overall use of single-use plastic. Here at the South Carolina Aquarium, we do a lot of beach sweeps within our community, so you can get involved on our social media pages and keep an eye out for that. And sometimes we partner with the Surfrider Foundation and other local conservation groups here in this area. We also have a citizen science app where you can document any trash or debris you pick up on the beach. And then, if you're not from Charleston or you want to be involved, just start your own beach sweep within your school or your community. Those things really do go a long way, just helping to keep the environment clean. The beach is a beautiful place, and we really want to keep it that way for not just us, but for all the wildlife that share that environment.
Save the Sea Turtles is an ongoing trend around America, something we in Charleston take very seriously. Over time, we've developed clubs and organizations supporting plastic ban and helping the environment.
So basically, we organize about once every year, and then we have cleanups about twice or once a month depending on weather, and we really try to just clean up as much as we can. We usually have 2 groups that split up and go both ways, usually down IOP because that's more of like the tourist area, which will have more trash because tourists usually don't care as much as the locals do about pollution. I would say it's a pretty prevalent problem, especially with the ongoing crisis of the environment. It's one of the most prevalent issues. Plastic pollution is a really big deal, and it's starting to affect a lot of marine life, not only because it hurts them physically, but also the production of plastic creates CO2, which can also harm the ocean in its own way. Charleston took a huge step in banning single-use plastic, so that means any straws you get from a restaurant will not be plastic, they'll actually be compostable. And also things to protect the turtles, like having laws that regulate light after a certain time, because turtles, when they are going out to sea, they use the moon as the light to go into the water, so any other light can distract them and really cause harm to them.
I'm Connor Sino. I play corner infield and catcher for Wando Baseball. I started playing baseball when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, whenever I could first step on the T-ball field. I've been playing Wando baseball since my freshman year when I moved here. I played JV my freshman year, and then sophomore, junior, and now just coming up senior year, I'll be playing varsity. My primary position was always catcher, but this past year I've been playing a lot of first base and working at third this past summer. So my mom and dad, they have an insane work ethic, and they've always just pushed me to do the best I can. My dad played baseball in high school. My mom was a college soccer player and also played professionally, so sports have always been in my family, and I don't know, I've just always loved baseball. It was something to do when I was younger and always had fun with it. I've been given the awesome opportunity to play baseball at the University of South Carolina and play with the best competition, play in the SEC, and just really develop as a player throughout the next 4 years. This coming up year, we have a really good team, a really good pitching staff, and we have some really good hitters on the team. I'm just very excited to my senior year end the senior season with a great season and make it as far as we can this year, which I think we can. The biggest thing I'm going to miss going into college is all the teammates that I've had these past 4 years and the relationships I've developed with them. We've had so many good memories these past 4 years, from like the bus rides up to a long game far away, and just, I mean, there's nothing like playing with your high school friends for 4 years.
Once again, thanks for tuning in. This has been Byrd
and Camryn Pace.
Go Warriors!